I'm Jeff with Kasteel Property Management, and today we're here with Shelton and Nate from Quality Restoration. So tell us what is quality restoration? What is your guys' expertise?
Yeah, well, I would say that we're probably the company you never want to call, but when you need us, we're there for you. So we do disaster cleanup and repair. So everything from flood, fire, mold to raccoons ruining your attic. Like we've seen a little bit of everything, and so we're the guys that respond and make sure it's cleaned up and put back together for you.
One thing that I've really put value on was how much when an issue comes up, I can turn it over to you guys, and I don't have to think about it anymore. It's just taken care of. You guys have the staff and the knowledge and the relationships to just make it happen. Even with the insurance company, I don't have to be the in-between of, tell the insurance company this, the insurance company says I want that, and I have to keep going. Like, you guys just handle it all, and it's such a relief because I've been in that situation before, and it's a headache, it's a hassle. And so I've always appreciated how easily you guys are able to make the whole process just come together.
I was just going to say, I appreciate that you said that. What we have found is that most people don't speak insurance, right? And so anytime you find yourself in a disaster situation, it's likely that you're dealing with an insurance company. And dealing with an insurance company takes a whole new level of expertise, right? To make sure everything is taken care of and that your needs are addressed. And that's kind of our specialty is having a good relationship with insurance companies so that we communicate between them and the property owner to make sure everybody's needs are being met in a timely fashion. So that's one of the things we try to excel at, and we've been doing it long enough that we've gotten pretty good. So
when my clients' properties have an issue, I always instruct them. I say, answer as little as you have to for the insurance company. Let Quality Restoration answer those questions because, they were on site, they know exactly what's happened, and sometimes the insurance company I've found, you probably know this more than I do, once they get information, even if it's inaccurate, they want to stick to that information and trying to back them off and say, no, that was wrong. This is actually what the information, this is what actually happened. Insurance companies seem to have a hard time with that. So it's nice to just let you guys do the talking, and you guys, after investigating the situation, can explain that to the insurance company.
Well, and that's a good point, because oftentimes the property owner doesn't necessarily even know what the source was, right? But if they think they know what it was and then communicate to that insurance company and it turns out to be something entirely different, that could affect their coverage, right? So exactly what you said is what we encourage people to do. Let us come and investigate and make sure we pinpoint the exact source, because then we can help communicate that to the insurance company so there's no surprises for anyone.
Yeah. So how big or small of jobs do you guys handle? Is there something that's kind of your niche, or what's too big, I guess?
Great question. I wouldn't say there's anything that's too big. We do everything from residential homes to big commercial buildings. We've done multi-unit properties. Really anything that would be sudden and accidental, and you can't handle yourself, or that you might file an insurance claim for, that's what we will take care of and we'll help with. So nothing is too big or small to call us, and we will come in and give you the good information, because having the right information makes all the difference when it comes to working with insurance companies.
Yeah. I've had cases with you guys where the tenants report that there's water somewhere it's not supposed to be, and you guys have always been great. You go out and with your equipment and you scan the walls, you scan the floors, and sometimes you say, yeah, there's water here, we need to take care of this. And other times you say there's not, and we're good. And either way is valuable. Tell us a little bit about why. I guess, why is it important to check inside the walls, which you can't always know what's in the walls. The average person isn't just going to be like, well, I'll wipe this up with a towel, let's call it a day, and think that we're good. Why is it important to check with you guys when water gets out where it's not supposed to be?
Well, so one of the biggest mistakes that property owners tend to make in a disaster situation is exactly what you said, is cleaning up the surface water and saying, all right, we're good, right? The problem, what we're chasing is that trapped moisture. That's where the problems can start to arise, from moisture that's hidden or trapped in a cavity that it shouldn't be. Because as long as that remains covered up, that's when it can start to fester and you can start to have microbial growth on the structural components, which you don't want. So that's what we come in and do is with specialized equipment, we're with moisture meters and infrared cameras, we're going to pinpoint where all the moisture is. And hopefully there's none, right? So hopefully you have cleaned it up. But just in case, it's always good to have us check to make sure there's nothing in the walls or under the floors that could create a problem down the line.
Right, because when it's down the line, it's a much bigger problem than if it was just taken care of then.
Much worse.
You know, I was going to say, just hoses on the outside of your house. You attach a hose and use it. In the wintertime, you should always detach those hoses. When you do that, it allows water to drain out of that hose bib. We see a lot of people every year that leave their hoses attached and water's trapped in the wall, then it gets cold and it freezes and breaks inside the wall. But they won't know that it breaks until the springtime when they turn on their hose and start to wash their car or water their plants. And all the meantime, it's flooding inside their house. They don't know it. They shut off the hose and go in and everything's wet. And that happens a lot where the whole basement's flooded, but nobody knows where the water's coming from because they didn't they didn't take the hose off in the wintertime.
Wow.
Simple thing that can save a lot of damage.
I know I've left them on in the winter before, and I had to, I've been lucky a couple times, and then one time I was not lucky. And so, yeah. Is there anything else that you would advise a homeowner either to prevent a disaster or a problem, or when one happens? What should they do or not do?
I'll tackle prevent. You can tackle what happens. There's some other advice, especially as we come into the colder months, is you want to make sure you have good airflow in your home to any pipes that are on the exterior of the home in particular, or along exterior walls. That's where it gets the coldest in your home. And so if you have lines there, you want to make sure kitchen cabinets are open so heat can travel in there and keep those warm. And if it's a problem area, maybe even insulating those pipes. I mean, a little bit of insulation can prevent thousands of dollars worth of water damage, right? The other thing I always counsel in the wintertime is I think space heaters are of the devil and should be eliminated from all people's uses. We see more fires started from space heaters than almost anything else. And as it gets colder, people want to be warm. I don't blame them. But those space heaters, like even newer ones, can create problems that you don't want. So if you're going to use a space heater, make sure it's always turned off and never leave it running unattended. But if you can avoid using a space heater altogether, even better. You'll save a lot of potential damage.
So are those specifically the space heaters that have the glowing wires inside, or like the
Electric space heaters.
Yeah, and I never use an old space heater. There's even like the top line advice. If it's more than 10 years old, don't use it. Like if you're going to use something, get something new. But unfortunately, we see a lot of like extensive, terrible fires that started with a tiny little space heater.
I that's good to know, because I have a space heater at home, but it like radiates heat. Have you seen any problems with those? Or it seems a little safer in my mind, but
it is definitely safer. It's definitely safer.
But using it unattended is still not recommended. That's the thing. Don't leave it on and leave the house. That's not a smart move.
For sure.
Something else I'm not sure if it might have been you guys, it might have been a plumber. Somebody told me once, and I always recommend it to my tenants, is when going out of leaving your home for an extended amount of time, turn off your main water valve. It keeps that valve exercised so it doesn't seize up, but it also, if there's some little plumbing issue that's happening, it's better to find out about it when somebody's home, not a week after somebody gets back home.
Absolutely, and it also forces you to know where it's at. It's surprising how many people do not know where their main water shutoff is. And so when they do have a disaster happen, they can't find their main water shutoff, and meanwhile water is pouring into their home, right? So getting in the habit of turning it off when you leave, make sure you always know where it's at so you can get to it quickly.
The only thing I'd add to that is when you come back and turn it on, make sure you check everything, because sometimes turning it back on and repressurizing the lines, if there is a weakness somewhere, it will cause that weakness to fail. So you just want to make sure you don't just turn it on and walk away, because just check everything.
And turn it on slow and then check everything. That's a good idea.
You had asked about recommendations when a disaster happens, and I wanted to say a couple things. First thing I'd say is if you walk in and you find water of any kind or something is happening, the first thing is act quickly. Again, it will prevent the long-term stuff. Insurance companies like it when you act quickly because it shows you're responsible. Act quickly and don't be afraid to ask for help. Too many people think, let me wipe it up with towels and it should be good, and that's not enough. Call us, let us come over and evaluate it with you. It doesn't cost anything for us to do an evaluation. We do free inspections. We can bring our moisture meters, our infrared equipment, and we can help determine if there's actually extensive damage or hidden moisture. By doing that, you're being responsible. We're going to make sure it's dried out properly, and in many cases, you did fine, and there's no other work that needs to be done. But in a lot of cases, there's a lot of damage that is hidden, and then we can find it, take care of it quickly, and then if you do have to file an insurance claim, the insurance company knows you were responsible, you took action, and you weren't neglecting this issue, and so there's no problem with coverage. But that would be my recommendation. Act quickly, call us.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen insurance claims fall apart because the insurance company sees it as a maintenance issue that was neglected rather than a sudden burst of water or some incident that happened. And so that's important. If you see something happening, figure it out. Yeah. Don't say, I'll get to that later.
Right. That's good advice.
I guess what's one of the biggest cases that you can think of?
Fires are always the biggest things we respond to, and because they're just so devastating in their scope. And so fires are those situations where you hate to be there, but you're glad you are so you can help. But seeing the devastation that these people go through is awful. And so we've done a number of multi-unit fires that have been pretty extensive, with multiple families displaced. And I mean, our goal is hopefully to make a terrible situation like that better and more manageable. And so we try to help them navigate it through it. So fires are maybe an aside, but as far as the water concerns, I mean, we've walked into swimming pools in basements before because there's that much water that has accumulated. I mean, multiple feet of water. Which is unfortunate. I mean, that means, and it's like we've talked about earlier, usually those situations are somebody who left town, did not turn off their main water, and have been gone for like 10 days and come home to, a flood that's been happening for most of those 10 days. And that's what it takes for water to get to that point. But as far as memorable too, I don't know if this is exactly memorable, but it is surprising to me how many people drive their cars through their houses. It happens so much more than you think, and it's almost always the homeowner that drives into their own house, whether pulling into a garage or out of a garage or whatever. So we always, anytime we respond to those situations, we always first try to hey, you're not alone. This happens far more than you think. You're not as bad a driver as you think, right? Like, and everyone's always embarrassed, but it's surprising how often it happens.
Wow, that's interesting. So. There's some things that you do specifically for Kasteel Property Management, which I'm really grateful for. I'm glad that's been a good business relationship there that we've been able to work out. You take the after hours, evenings, middle of the holiday, night, in the middle of the night calls for emergencies. Tell us a little bit about how that's gone.
Absolutely.
It's gone well. We've loved our relationship with Kasteel, and we have people on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, because that's what we do, emergency. So it was pretty easy for us to say, yeah, let's take any of your after hours calls as well. So if someone's having an emergency, water emergency, a fire emergency, anything like that, and they call us after hours, we have a live person that answers. We take that information, help evaluate, what needs to happen, and then we have crews that are on call that can respond usually within an hour to anywhere along the Wasatch Front. And so it happens periodically, not a ton with Kasteel, but we'll get out there and evaluate the situation, clean things up, dry things out. Our goal is to get the tenants or the owners there into a stable condition, so it's not going to get worse over time. It can be stable and be drying, and then we can come back during hours and evaluate that and determine, again, if it's something that needs to go to an insurance company or back to the owner. But a couple things that we're worried about there. We want to protect the property. Obviously, that's probably one of the biggest investments is this property. We want to take care of the tenants and make sure that they're safe and good. And we also want to protect the liability of the owner. You mentioned a situation where somebody was sick from mold because things weren't taken care of. We want to make sure that we are taking care of your property and your tenants so that they can never have a reason to come back to the owner and say, well, you didn't take care of this when I reported it. And so that's what we'll do immediately when we know an emergency is happening.
And I love telling my clients how we handle emergencies, because that's always a question I get. They're like, well, what happens in the middle of the night? And I love telling them, I'm like, well, I work with Quality Restoration, and they're incredible, and they're able to take care of things. And they've got all the equipment and the expertise and the knowledge, and so that's always a really reassuring thing for my clients, is to be able to let them know that we work together that way and that their properties are protected.
The only thing I'll add to that too, on our end, is we're grateful for the knowledge that you have and provide to your customers. We work with a number of different property managers, but nobody else understands the insurance side as well as you do. And so, and your communication and responsive time, your responsiveness is what makes a huge difference in these disaster situations, because you're navigating not only a tenant, but also the property owner, and being able to communicate to them, like, here's how this typically works and here's how these steps go, I think makes our job so much easier, because they've already got all the information from you, and we just come in to fill in the rest and take care of them. So, we love working with you. We're happy to be in this industry. We actually really enjoy what we do. It's a unique industry, but we enjoy our role that we get to play, and hopefully helping property owners get back to normal and navigating the whole insurance process. So we enjoy what we do.
Great. How can people get a hold of you, and what's your website address?
Our website is www.qrestore.com.
QRestore.com.
So Q like quality, restore.com. And our phone number is 801-922-9130. They can call us 24 hours a day, and we can respond.
Perfect. Thank you. So Jeff with Kasteel Property Management, and we do more than just watch your rental property. We protect it, cultivate it, and help your investment grow.